Holy cow. The New England Patriots just beat the New York Jets, and let me tell you one thing for certain, it was ugly. But a win is a win. The Patriots do snap a 6-game losing streak. They now move on to 2-6 on the season, but guess what? So do the Jets and the AFC East. There are still a lot of things to work on in New England. My goodness, we are far from being perfect. But a win is a win. And all you needed to do was play better than Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, and that's exactly what you did. So I am your host, Allie Barefoot, and we're going to go on ahead and jump into my instant reaction here to the Patriots beating the New York Jets in Week 8. But before we do that, I do want to tell you guys one thing here is that Jacoby Brissett played the second half of this game and a little bit of the second quarter because Drake Maye was ruled out in the second quarter with a concussion. So we'll have to obviously get more updates here on Drake Maye moving forward, but he did take a pretty hard hit to the head, helmet-to-helmet contact. Of course there was no flag. Of course they're not going to call targeting on Drake Maye. Sent him to the locker room, and he never came back out. So we're going to have to monitor and see what Drake Maye is going to do, probably now being in the concussion protocol, as we already have Jalen Polk in the concussion protocol. But nonetheless, man, I do think that Drake Maye was still doing his thing. I thought that he was still clear-cut, the quarterback won, and he was showing us that he can do just as much with his legs as he can with his arm. And not to mention, too, I just think that he knows how to command a game, which is just great to have somebody like a rookie be able to do that. And before he did end up leaving, he was 3 for 6, 50%, not the greatest, but we'll talk about the receivers in a minute, and then 23 yards. But he also had a ton of yards on the ground. Drake Maye was the leading rusher for the first half as he ended with 2 yards less than Ramondre Stevenson. Drake Maye had 3 carries for 46 yards and 1 touchdown on the ground with his own legs. That's what I'm loving about Drake Maye. And it sucks that he had to leave with a concussion. Obviously, that's not what you want with your quarterback there, but nonetheless, that's the latest that we do have on Drake Maye, and we'll hopefully get more information on Drake Maye moving forward here, but he may be out for 2 weeks with a concussion, so that is extremely unfortunate. We're going to break down what I saw here from the game in just a moment, but we just got to soak this in, man. Do you believe in miracles? Because the Patriots scored a touchdown in the last 30 seconds of the ball game. And they had Ramondre Stevenson bully his way for the touchdown and then a successful 2-point conversion. That was Patriots football. And we're going to talk about the ugly parts, man, because that's still Patriots football too. But spam your W's, man. The Patriots got to win, and we broke a 6-game losing streak. That's all I care about right now. So let's talk about what happened on offense, right? Because they did have no Drake Maye. And the minute Jacoby Brissett came in, let me tell you, morale was down. To the point where there were reports that majority of Gillette Stadium left at halftime, and they left while booing Jacoby Brissett heading in the locker room. But I'll tell you what, man, Brissett did his job. And that was come in and be the best that you can. That's exactly what he did. 15 for 24. And he still has proven that he is phenomenal at evading pressure and avoiding sacks. Drake Maye was the lone sack today from Quinnen Williams. Jacoby Brissett, not sacked. 132 yards in the air. Excuse me, he was sacked once. I do apologize. He was sacked once. He threw 132 yards in the air, and he really tried to hit numerous different receivers, but there's one thing that I have noticed about Jacoby Brissett and who he always comes back to, and that's just got to be Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry is obviously his top wide receiver here, but something I also thought was pretty interesting was that Kayshon Boutte also got a lot of reps here, which was pretty surprising, knowing that Kayshon Boutte had multiple drops as well throughout the game, along with several other Patriots players. Excuse me, I'm just trying to find one of these graphics here. I'm by myself. That was one thing that really frustrated me throughout the entire game, was just knowing that there were 5 catches from the receivers today, and there were also 5 drops. And I think what infuriates me the most is the fact that we had numerous wide receivers come out this last week and talk to social media and say, oh, I don't get the ball enough. Oh, I want the ball. I have to ask for the ball. And then you go out there and you get the ball and you completely drop it. What is that supposed to do? What are you supposed to do with that? So that's just what made me, I think, just honestly the most frustrated here today. But nonetheless, I think Jacoby Brissett came in and he did his job. 295 yards in total from both quarterbacks. 26 for 37, 15 carries, 38 yards. We're going to work on the run game because it is very, very, very tough right now. But overall, I got the stats right here in front of me. Kayshon Boutte had 3 receptions for 46 yards. His longest came 34 yards, which was huge. That set the Patriots up to be in the red zone to win the ball game. Hunter Henry's your top wide receiver. I do not know why they don't keep going into Mario Douglas. 2 receptions on 3 targets for 12 yards. But yet, you went to Tyquan Thornton 3 times. You went to Kendrick Bourne 3 times. You went to Austin Hooper 4 times. All drops. 5 wide receiver catches and 5 wide receiver drops, and they were to the hands. If you want to go and talk shit on social media about your level of production, then come out in a must-win game and you drop every pass thrown to you, you better keep your mouth shut and get back to work on the field. Because Hunter Henry has been your only consistent player here so far, and I will stand by that. I think he did great. I think Hunter Henry is one of the reasons why you won this ball game. He's 6'5", he's your best receiver, and you need to be using him more often. And I think that I still am very adamant about not keeping Alex Van Pelt, because this game shouldn't have been as close as it was. They already should have scored once in the end zone, and that was one thing that really started to piss me off, was what I saw when we're trying to score in the end zone, and instead, you completely run a zone read. You run a zone read and a handoff, and it's fumbled and recovered by Jacoby Brissett. You had Antonio Gibson in the backfield to try and run and get you your first down and get you in the end zone. Ramondre Stevenson needs to be your bowling ball, and I hate that he strayed away from that. But nonetheless, that's a whole different argument that I can get into right now. But overall, we should have had multiple opportunities to score in the end zone, and the Patriots just didn't capitalize on it. I do still think that needs to be fixed moving forward. But nonetheless, I do think that Jacoby Brissett came in here and he did his job, which is kind of the most important thing, right? You got us to win. You got us to win, and that's all you really need to do moving forward. So I have a question here for you guys before I jump into the defensive side of this football game. So let me go ahead and ask you that real quick before we keep moving on. Is grade the Patriots in Week 9? I know it wasn't the prettiest win, and we're going to talk about the defense here because that struggled for a little bit, and we'll bring that up. But overall, I'm going to give it a C. I'm going to give it a C+, maybe a B-, just because you did end up getting the win, and you didn't give up, and you came back and won. So maybe I'll give it a B-, but overall, Patriots still got a lot of things they need to fix. But if you guys want to go on ahead and test your skills on the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America, then I highly suggest you go on ahead and do one thing for me, and that's download Prize Picks. If you guys are looking to join over 10 million active users right now on this app, well, do me one favor. Download that app, and when you get there, it's super easy to play. All you have to do is pick more or less on a player's projected stats, and you can win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. Not to mention, Prize Picks puts its members first. So all your withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get money in as quick as 15 minutes. So I'll show you guys the Prize Picks that I had for Week 8, which is where we're at right now. I'll show you my picks that we had here for Week 8, and I did end up doing pretty well here, so I am not mad at myself. I had Ramondre Stevenson having less than 65.5 rushing yards. That's good. I had Drake Maye having more than 23.5 rushing yards. He had 46, so that's good. And I had Derrick Henry to have 1 in the end zone. I'm not 100% sure how that one happened because I know the Ravens did end up losing to the Browns, but nonetheless, these were my picks for Week 8. Are we in Week 7? No, we're in Week 8. For Week 8. So if you guys want to go on ahead and play and test your skills, it's super easy. All you guys have to do is go on ahead and download the Prize Picks app. Use promo code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the Prize Picks app. Use promo code CLNS. This is going to get you guys $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, we do need to talk about the defense and what they did. So, #1, I didn't like this at all. Here's the #1 thing that I realized. You need 2 Christian Gonzalez's. You need 2 of Christian Gonzalez. Why? Because they had 2 top wide receivers. So, for example, if you were to face the Eagles, they've got 2 top wide receivers, A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Well, the Jets have that now in Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. So, naturally, Garrett Wilson had 30 yards in the air when they played them in Week 3. Why? Because Gonzo was on Wilson. But now, Gonzo was on Devontae Adams, which means you had Marcus Jones on Garrett Wilson, and this is the product that he does have. Then again, you look at Devontae Adams, and this is only the longest catch that he made was because they switched, and they put Marcus Jones, on Devontae Adams, and then Gonzo went back to Wilson. And what happened? They started going Devontae Adams. You need another top cornerback. Marcus Jones came in clutch in a huge pass breakup against Christian Gonzalez in the Jets' last drive in 22 seconds. I will give him that credit. But we have now realized you have a cornerback issue. And that's you only have one Christian Gonzalez. That was the only thing that I was going to point out because I was sure as shit going to say, keep Gonzo on Garrett Wilson. And they put Marcus Jones on him, and they absolutely abused that. But then you had Breece Hall, who also did his thing. And, it could have been worse. It's not my favorite 16 carries for 80 yards, but the man had over 100 when they played us in Week 3. Breece Hall, still a little bit of a gap in the run defense, I will be honest, but Breece Hall could have been a lot more dangerous here today. Braylon Allen really didn't do anything for the Patriots either. For the Jets, 12 carries, 32 yards, but of course that does total up to put both running backs, in total over 100 yards. So the run defense I do still worry about here, but overall, Aaron Rodgers had a pretty good day. He did. 17 for 28, 2 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions, 233 yards. So I do think that Aaron Rodgers is still, when you're going to have a quarterback that can be a pocket passer, I do think that they're going to find first downs. And I'll still stand by this. I think the Patriots absolutely struggle just getting a first down. It looks so painful, as if it's just grueling to try and move the chains 10 yards. It really does. Because I'll go back here a little bit and bring up Ramondre Stevenson. Well, actually, I can't even bring up Ramondre Stevenson because he wasn't even our top running back, which was extremely annoying. So I'll bring up Ramondre. Oh, here he is. Ramondre Stevenson, 20 carries for 48 yards, 2 touchdowns, and I'll be honest, he was a threat in the red zone. He was great in the red zone today. But the one thing about Stevenson is that I'm going to have to look it up the stat after the game here. He must have had a record-setting negative yards today. I've never seen a running back get pummeled as much behind the line of scrimmage as I have seen Ramondre Stevenson. And I used to blame the offensive line, but the offensive line did pretty freaking good today. So I'm now looking to the lack of explosiveness coming from Ramondre Stevenson's side. If it's an injury issue, we need to discuss that. But there's no start and stop with Ramondre. There's barely even a freaking start, okay? There is no accelerating. And I did see him go a little bit more towards the outside, which I personally do like for Ramondre because I just don't think he has enough explosion off that handoff to go up the middle like a Derrick Henry, like a Jahmyr Gibbs. So I'm still very questionable on Ramondre Stevenson, which is really unfortunate. And you already proved that Antonio Gibson can't be a starting running back. So nonetheless, it's going to be interesting to see how we move forward, but overall, I mean, the Patriots got a little bit of work to do, man. Let me rephrase that. Patriots still suck. I'm going to be honest. They still suck. They're still not looking pretty, but could be a lot worse. We got back. We're getting some confidence back. That was what was huge about this, right? Yes, you may not have looked as great as you wanted, but you did end up getting the win. And that is going to move mountains for your confidence. You just proved that your defense isn't soft, and that's what you needed to prove. You just proved that if Drake Maye does go down, you can still rely on Jacoby Brissett. And you get to take on the Titans next week, and there's this theory going on that whenever a team plays the Lions, the next week they lose. Titans got blown out by the Lions today. I'm just saying. Nonetheless, hit that sub button for me if you guys want to keep being in touch here with Patriots news and rumors. And we had over 45,000 people joining us here for week 7. Week 8, I don't know. Week 8, I think this is week 8. Thank you guys so much for tuning in here. Obviously, we got the win. We got the outcome we wanted. We still have mountains to move, but nonetheless, the Patriots are back in the win column.